Welcome, my friends, to another episode of the Cash Physical Therapy Headquarters podcast. Did you know that when you start and get accepted into DPT school, you have a 96% success rate of graduating and getting your DPT? But when you start a cash practice that actually makes money, there's only a 10 to 13% chance that you're going to generate six figures within 5 years. Less than 10% of all businesses are doing less than 10K a month. That means if you're striving to get to 10K a month, you're in the top 10% of all entrepreneurs in the world. But here's what nobody tells you. The reason most PTs fail in business isn't because they're not smart enough to succeed. They're not talented enough clinically. It's because they think being smart is enough. Being a high achiever is enough. Today, Ben and I are going to talk about what it actually takes to win at the game of business. That is statistically 6 times harder than PT school, and why respecting that difficulty is the first step to building a successful, thriving business. Ben, are you surprised by those statistics?
Yeah, I kind of am. I am because, yeah, I mean, really, if you think about it, like you just said, the stats show that it is 6 times harder as well. But if you think I also at the same time, just like if you can figure out how to get through PT school and be smart enough to do it, then why can't you do it practice? And I'm excited to talk about for us to talk about why that is and why it's actually not intelligence that's absolutely needed, but other intangibles with that.
Right. Well, I think it comes down to the difference between learning and intelligence. I think I have that right. Because people who just learn, they observe, they watch the videos, they learn the strategies, go book to book, coach to coach, video to video, but their behavior never actually changes. And so if you're listening to this, you are smart. You've done hard things. You've gotten your DPT. You've probably done other hard things in your life too. But when it comes to your business, you resist all the things because they seem difficult. You seem like you feel like you shouldn't have to learn all these things. You feel like sales, marketing, finances, operations are beneath you because you're a doctor. And you're unknowingly making yourself look pretty damn dumb because the numbers and the stresses in your life keep indicating that there's a skill set or system that you need to develop. But your behavior doesn't change. Instead, you think there's got to be an easier way. And you keep looking for a silver bullet, because you think your knowledge is enough to be a successful business owner. Ben, do you think you're the greatest clinician in the world?
No, absolutely not. I'm the worst clinician on the team. We have a team of over 15 PTs, and I'm the worst one. So yeah, it doesn't take it. Yes, being a great clinician helps, but it's not the thing that is needed.
Yet you run the most successful, profitable cash physical therapy practice probably in the world. Maybe there's a couple other that are silently out there, but we certainly haven't found them. Certainly not at the level of profitability that you're at. Then there's me. I'm the CEO of a cash physical therapy mentorship business. I'm also not a PT. And so that means if you take both of those, that there's something else that creates success inside a business. And I want to talk about it. And I think it starts with the lie that's been taught to PTs by marketers and gurus and all the information out there, which isn't the fault of the gurus and the marketers. Marketing's marketing. You have to have bold promises. You have to make things sound sexy and shiny, but it's setting the wrong expectation that's killing businesses before they even get started. What comes up for you about the wrong expectations?
Yeah, I think that it's a way for people to make more money, and work less. Eventually, maybe yes, but it's going to be the exact opposite for a decent amount of time. It's actually going to make you learn to respect the game first, and pay your dues before that happens. Yes, it's absolutely a vehicle, but it's actually the opposite until you can get over those hurdles. And it can be the opposite of more money and less time. Sorry, it can cost you way more money and be less financially beneficial and also have less time freedom indefinitely. It can be that case until you learn how to overcome different obstacles and tribulations too.
Right. Be comfortable doing hard things. Okay. 10% of all business, actually 9% of all businesses are making $10,000 a month. And you're panicking because you've been at this for 3 to 6 months, maybe over a year, and you're still not at $10,000. And you're thinking it's got to be easier than this. It's way simpler than you think it is, but it is not easy because it requires that you develop skill sets that are uncomfortable for you. Business is two things. It is the combination of data and your mind. Most of you have the data, but you're not actually looking at it. You're not reading it. And most of you have all of your own mental garbage that's preventing you from learning the behavior that your stress, your data, your lack of results is trying to tell you that you need to master. So I think one of the first realizations that you need to have is that your skill sets as a DPT, everything that you've learned that makes you a great clinician, are what make you a phenomenal employee. From your feelings about sales and how gross it is and how you should just help people, on your price and fear objections that you've been indoctrinated into because you've become accustomed to the insurance-based pricing model where you think $200 for a visit is immoral or insane or no one's going to pay that. All of these beliefs that you have been indoctrinated into having and all the skill sets that you've developed to get patients better as quickly as you possibly can so you can move to the next one, all of those have groomed you to be the best employee. And now you're trying to translate that into business ownership, which is requires a completely different set of skills and mindsets in order to be successful. And so a lot of you are trapped in your businesses and they're not growing because you're still thinking like employees rather than actual business owners. And you're not respecting the game, as Ben said, of how hard it actually is. I ran some stats earlier, Ben, that I think you'll find surprising as well. Okay, so I compared the probability of like different growth rates and success rates in practice ownership to the success rates of DPT programs as well as getting your MD. And the results are pretty insane. Let me share my screen here. Let's do window. Let's do this one. Let's just do the entire screen to keep it easy on me. You able to see this Google Doc?
Yep.
Okay. So the success rate of DPTs making $100,000 a year, out of 100 students that get accepted, or out of 100 people that apply for DPT school, about 55% get accepted. Then after 10 years, there's only 53% of those that got accepted that graduated are making over $100,000. In MD school, to make around $240,000, they're kind of like median salary. Out of 100 people that apply, only 45 get accepted. And after 10 years, only 43% of all of those, the 100 that initially applied, are making $240,000 a year. If you compare that to practice ownership, out of 100 people that start their businesses, only 35% are still operating at 10 years. 35% are still operating, not even making the money that they want to make. Now, if we take a look at the statistics of entrepreneurs after 10 years, they're even crazier. Okay, I'm going to try to zoom in on this. Okay, so of the 10% that are still functioning after 10 years, 60% of them are not profitable. That means they have built jobs and cages of their own making. They're wearing all the hats. They're putting out fires. They don't have the lifestyle they want. They certainly don't have the income that they want. But now they have the craziest job and craziest boss in the world, them. Now, of those people, 40% are at least profitable, but they're making less than $100,000 a year. Now, of that whole bucket, 9% of those who last 10 years are making $100,000 a year in their business. Now, if your goal isn't just to make $100,000, you want to earn more, not just replace your salary. Well, now we're talking about even crazier numbers. Of those that are making $100,000 a year, 3% of them are making over $240,000 a year. And those who are making over $1 million a year, it's 0.02%. And so when you factor all that in, statistically, building a 10K a month business is 6 times harder than DPT school. And if you want to build a 7-figure business, it's 265 times harder.
I didn't know.
How does that sit with you?
Yeah, I didn't know it was that bad.
It's crazy. Now, it's not exactly apples to apples, right? But I share these stats with the intention of, if you're listening to this, you are trying to do what 90% of people who try fail to do. That means you have to be willing to do what 99.8% of people aren't willing to do if you're trying to build a 7-figure business, but you're still resisting learning how to track your data, learning how to interpret that data, learning how to market yourself, how to sell your services, how to craft messaging and explain your value to people that don't understand physical therapy. You're resisting all these skill sets, and you're never going to get to where you're trying to go because you're doing what the vast majority of people do. They don't want to do those things. And so you're getting the same results as what everyone else is typically getting. How often do you see that popping up with our clients? That, we just did a scaling workshop. I think it was pretty evident that a lot of people did not realize the reality of what it takes to actually build a business.
Yeah. I think it's especially people that don't want to take the time to learn all the intricate details of what it takes. Jordan and I were talking about this earlier today, the tech back end side of things. I'm not great at tech. I don't want to learn how to do it. How do I can you do this for me? Literally every single intricate detail about ProKinetics, I know. That includes the tech, the highest level tech stuff. I'm not a tech person, but when you start handing off that power to somebody else, that means your business is susceptible. Let's say something tech goes down, and I don't know how to fix it on a Friday night, and somebody else isn't in until Monday morning. Yep. Now we just have 48 hours where we've got leads coming in and the system's broken and this tech back end is broken. No, I know how to fix it. I can fix it. Right? I don't have to wait 48 hours. So I think it's those little things that people aren't willing to learn. To be great at business, you have to be great at finances. You pretty much have to be a fractional CFO. You have to be a CPA. You have to be a marketer. You have to be a psychologist to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
From managing teams, being able to hire, recruit, sales psychology. You have to be a salesman. You have to be great at sales. You have to be great at leadership. You have to be organized. Yeah. You have to be all these things, and all people are coming to the table with to starting out is being a great clinician. Mm-hmm. That's such a small fraction of what it actually takes. You literally have to be great. And you don't have to just be okay. You have to be great at all these different realms of things. And this is why I say business is the best personal development journey anybody can be on. Name me another profession that it requires all those things to be great at. It just doesn't make sense. But that's also why so many people fail.
Right. And that's why it's a mindset game. You use the numbers to treat your business the same way you treat patients, to find the greatest constraint, the root cause of the problem, develop a plan to solve that problem, measure your progress towards it, reassess, and then change your plan and keep optimizing that one thing. That's the data portion of it. The mindset portion of it is you might find that your greatest constraint is your sales or your lead follow-up or your retention, which forces you, in order to solve that constraint, to come to the realization that you suck at it. You don't know anything about it, and you have to get good at it. Entrepreneurship is a mirror, and whatever results you're getting in your business is a pure reflection of you and your shortcomings and what you're not good at. And the reason most people get stuck is because they ignore the signs, they ignore the stress, they ignore the skill that they know they need to get better at, but they really just don't want to because they feel like it's beneath them, or they feel like I'm the clinician. It's not my job to call leads, to learn how to communicate to them, to learn how to sell people, to help them work on your patients' financial mindset issues, to get them to convert. You don't think it's your job. And so you delegate it to somebody else. But what people don't tell you is whoever you delegate something to, you're lucky if they can do it 50% as well as you can. If they're world class, they'll do it 80% as good as you can. So if you suck at it and you try to delegate it, how good do you think they're going to be at it? They're going to suck.
No.
And so you have to learn how every element of your business works. You have to overcome your own fears and your own objections to developing that skill, so that when you do go to delegate it, when that same person has those fears, those objections around doing that task, you can show them with proof of you as a case study that you can do it. They just have to tweak this, and that. And the only way you're able to effectively do that, to lead your people, to train them how to do it, is to know how to do it yourself. Do you know a single person, Ben, that runs the business of their dreams, that gives them financial freedom, that gives them time freedom, and gives them peace of mind every single day, that doesn't know how their business works?
No, because you can't have that last piece without knowing. How are you going to have peace of mind if you don't know everything about your business and how to go about doing it and fixing it? Right? You could hire somebody to, take something off your plate, but every time we've done that, it's been a dumpster fire. Like, we've hired agencies to fix our marketing. It's a mess, right? And so you just can't have that peace of mind part if you don't want to fix things, in my opinion.
Right. You can't have control. You can't have control unless you understand all the pieces. And many of you're getting discouraged. You're doubting yourself. You think it's, you don't have what it takes to do this, because you're trying to cram an accomplishment that 90% of people fail at into 3 months, because internet marketers and your colleagues make it look so damn easy. It's not. It's the hardest game in the world, because you're constantly in a battle with yourself, resisting your own gut instincts in favor of data, resisting the things that come naturally to you and the things that you enjoy doing, or the things that you don't enjoy doing, that you need in order to have the clarity that's going to give you the control that's going to allow you to keep growing and build something that you truly love. And so I think the first thing you need to understand is that you're going to fail. What matters is how quickly you analyze and determine why you failed, and how quickly you pivot to course correct and keep moving forward. And stop thinking that you're going to build the super successful business in even 1 year, because it requires mastery of so many different skills. Everyone's at a different stage within their own journey. It takes 10,000 hours to become excellent at something. And you have to get excellent, as Ben said, like sales, marketing, psychology, messaging, operations, finance, technology. Those are just some of the fundamentals that you have to get good at. And so a lot of you are burning up and quitting, thinking that you don't have what it takes, or you're not in the right area. But when in reality is, you haven't even come close to putting in the hours to give yourself a fighting chance to achieve what 90% of people fail at.
Yeah, you don't have what it takes coming in. You simply don't. And because why? It's not that you can't have that stuff eventually and have what it takes, but you got to give yourself some grace, and some of this just does take time, and reps and reps and reps. And the more that you can do those reps, the faster. And that's where this, the time freedom piece. I hear so many people saying that they're like, I want time freedom, I want work-life balance. It's going to take so much longer. If that's something that's a priority to you, it's going to take so much longer to achieve that, because if you're only like, I'm not going to work on Saturdays and Sundays because I want work-life balance, that's time that you could be getting reps in to be able to have that mastery. And the faster you have that mastery, then you actually get true time freedom with it. And so the reason a lot of people get into this is the exact reason why they won't achieve it.
Right. The arrogance to think that you can get started and have success and figure it out in 6 months is insane. It's insane. You're not respecting the difficulty of this game. And if you go into it without that right expectation, you're never, ever going to get through it. Just like, with your patients, in order for them to move forward, we have to have a strong, compelling goal that's going to carry them through the decision they need to make to get where they're trying to go, and carry them through the discomfort of the treatment and the things that they're going to need to do in order to achieve that goal. And so when you're starting your business, you need to first accept that you are playing the hardest game ever. And if it's purely financial, you're going to give up. Me and Ben, I think, are pretty much the same, where our motivation isn't financial. That's a side effect. Our goal is to become the best versions of ourselves. Who can we become? What can we accomplish when we become them? And so that drives us forward. And so you need to understand how hard it is. And you need to really understand, like, who do I need to be in order to accomplish this? And what is the type of life that I want to create for myself that makes all the pain I'm about to go through worth it? So you need to set the goal. You need to set the clear roadmap by reverse engineering where I'm trying to go. Okay, if I want to make $10,000 a month, how much does the business need to make a month in order for me to make that? Because you shouldn't be chasing revenue numbers. You should be chasing profit, because 20K might sound cool in a Slack snapshot to your coach, but making 10K a month with a smaller business is a hell of a lot cooler. So you got to get crystal clear on your goals and stop thinking that it's going to be easy, and embrace the difficulty of it. And think of all the pain as your gift and your reward that's shaping you into who you actually want to become, which is competent, confident, and wealthy. God forbid you're able to give your family the stuff you didn't have.
Yeah. I mean, back to this profit and revenue, I'd rather have a $500,000 revenue business with $200 profit than a $2 million business with $250,000. Yes, I'm getting more profit, but that's a lot more things that can go wrong at that scale. That $50,000 can be wiped clean real fast with it. So it's all about profit, not about revenue.
So those businesses that you're romanticizing, that you're kind of infatuated with, like, oh, I want a business like that with a huge team, with, they're killing it. They're doing $1 million in revenue. Okay. They have a 60% chance of not even being profitable. And so their magnitude of problems is huge. And if you actually saw behind the scenes of that business, they couldn't pay you enough to trade places with them. They couldn't. And so you got to realize that most of the people that you think are doing great aren't. There's a very, very, very tiny percentage of people who are like Ben or like myself, who are running $1 million businesses that are actually profitable and funding the lifestyles that we want to have, while also building long-term wealth. So don't be jealous of other businesses, because the vast majority of them that we meet with that are doing like $30,000, $50,000 months and have teams, a lot of them aren't profitable. A lot of them aren't even paying themselves yet, but they've taken on all of these problems. They scaled when they weren't actually ready. And if you scale before you're ready, all the chaos you're feeling right now, that admin position you want to hire for, that new PT that you really want to bring on because they just left their job and they're a great fit. If your business is chaotic now, adding people to it is just going to scale your chaos. It is not going to make your life easier. You have to have a simple system first, and then scale simplicity.
It's the name game, keeping it simple at scale. And the more simple you can keep it at the beginning, the less baggage you're going to have at scale and having to do cleanup.
Right. Like right now, you don't have time. You're wearing all the hats. You're following up with leads. Leads are getting missed. People aren't converting. You're not retaining people. You're trying to find time to do posts. You're following up with past patients. You're doing all the things. And your life is insane. And you don't have time to get to it all. And so a lot of people think it's like, okay, let me hire an admin. Okay, that's gonna free up some of my time. I can give that off. But all you're doing is bringing someone into your chaos. You're gonna have to try to lead them and help them manage that chaos. So instead of getting your time back, you're actually spending even more time still solving the same problems. But now you're trying to communicate and articulate how to solve those problems to someone else who isn't going to be doing a good job. And because you are chaotic, your systems are chaotic, you're not going to retain that person.
Yeah, that was the next part, is like, while doing all that stuff while hoping they don't leave.
Right. Right. And so it's like the game of business is a long-term game. And a lot of people who struggle are not respecting the game enough to realize that it takes years to do this. I saw Ice Cube do an interview. Love my boy Cube. And he said, if you're not willing to suffer and go through pain and not get paid a dime for 5 years in business, you shouldn't even start. Now, if it takes you 5 years to make a dime, you're fucking up. Okay. You really are. It's not that hard. It's actually extremely simple when you take off your blinders, you are honest with yourself, you look at what the real truth of your financial position and the real truth of your business operations. And when you can see things clearly without that lens that you put on that tells you everything's fine, then things get really, really easy pretty damn quick. It's pretty easy to spot, okay, what's broken? Where do I feel the most stress? What do I need to learn to make sure I never feel that stress or have that problem again? And then you just do that over and over and over again. And your life gets easier as your business grows, not harder. So let's quickly talk about what that looks like. Okay, we've talked on other episodes of treating your business the same way you treat your patients. And so walk us through the stages of treating a patient, Ben, and then let's tie that into business.
I don't think anybody wants to hear my version of it.
Yeah, no, I don't know if I have. Let's hear it.
I mean, when it comes to patients, same thing with business is you have to first identify issues, right? Like there's 4 ways to solve problems. You can go about it the wrong way, where you haven't identified the true issue, and you're also going about it the wrong way, or where you've identified the right issue, but you're treating the injury the wrong way, or you found the right issue and you're actually treating it the right way. The worst one is where you've found the wrong issue, but you're treating it right. So this would be like you haven't been able to identify your main bottleneck within your business.
Yep. Identify the wrong root cause.
Yeah. Let's say you've identified a different issue, and you feel like you're making progress because you're working on something, but you're working on the wrong things, and that's much easier. It's much easier to stay in that wrong loophole because you feel like you're taking action, versus if you're working on the wrong thing and going about it the wrong way, you really find out pretty quickly that, hey, this is the right route, and you can pivot. Versus if you're going about the wrong thing the right way, you can stay in that loop for a long time because there's not that feedback system, right? So that's really how I go about identifying things within patient care as well as within the business. Like those are the four main routes that you can go with it. So.
Right. So most of you are working on the wrong problem and probably applying the wrong solution, or you're applying the right solution that you learned from some internet coach or guru, but it's not the right time. You're not working on the right constraints. You're not going to get the results. This is why 3 businesses, 10 businesses can all implement the exact same strategy and get completely different results because their infrastructure is different. Their main constraint is different. And so until you solve the root issue, nothing else you're going to do is going to have much of an impact. So you have to set a goal for yourself to have your why on what it is you're going to be doing, what you're going to be doing. You need to be assessing the situation. Where's my greatest constraint, which means you need to be tracking your data from day one. You need to be tracking how many leads you're getting, how many calls, how many of them show up to evals, how many of them convert, how many of them end up going on to continuity, and how many visits are people averaging. You need to be tracking all of that so you can pinpoint where your biggest issue is. Once you have that, apply a protocol, some level of treatment that you think is going to work, remeasure it in 30 days. Business is really, really simple. Everyone just makes it harder because they don't want to do the things that make it simple. And when they do make it simple and they do track their data, they make it harder on themselves because they see what the big issue is, but they see something else that they could work on that's going to be easier. For example, you might see that, oh my God, I have a lead to booking issue. Very few of my leads actually book calls. And so there's a couple different ways you could solve that. You could focus on building better systems to following up with leads faster. You could focus on getting better at converting the calls that you are already getting. You could focus on better nurturing systems. Okay. That means writing emails, that sort of thing. And so what most people will do, they'll look at like, oh, I need to get better at calls. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do role plays. I don't want to work on my script. So I'm going to write some emails instead. And then nothing ever happens, but they're doing all of this activity. They're working really, really hard, but the needle never actually moves because they're avoiding the real thing they need to do, which is always the thing that is more difficult or more uncomfortable. And so one of my favorite quotes is, we're kept from our goals, not by obstacles, but by a clear vision to a lesser goal. And so you're looking at your list of all of your problems. You're looking at sales as, oh my God, that sucks. I don't want to do that today. I don't have the energy for that today. So you write emails because you can do that. That's easy. That's comfortable. And it feels like you're doing something, but it doesn't solve the real problem. And so you stay stuck.
Exactly that, right? It feels good to be taking action. But if you're taking action on the wrong thing, it doesn't move the needle.
Right. And this is why a lot of people, they don't have the confidence required to feel good every day or to get people to buy from them. And they think confidence is something that you just have. It's not. It's something that is proven to, that you have to prove to yourself by doing hard things, by failing, trying something else, getting it to work, or sucking right away, practicing it, and then getting better at it. That is what develops confidence. And many of you, instead of developing confidence, you're just focusing on the areas that you're most confident. And so when you look at the whole of the business, you're incredibly unconfident, I think is the right word. You're unconfident because you're only savvy in a couple of different areas rather than taking the time. It doesn't take long. Any problem you have in your business that you don't understand, you can become pretty proficient within 30 days if you just make that your sole focus for 30 days. And because you're not doing that, you're focusing on a million other things that aren't important. So you never develop confidence, you never develop competence, and you stay stuck.
Yeah.
When you just had to work on that one thing.
Yeah, I read a really good article on what intelligence actually is too. I think that's why so many very smart people gravitate back to patient care and feel like sales and marketing is beneath them. Is essentially intelligence is the ability to label your emotions and what you're actually feeling, and be able to interpret those emotions and how that's impacting your behavior. And so if you find yourself like, hey, a lot of people find the issue where they're like, I suck at sales, or they're like, I just don't like doing sales. Like they start finding all these reasons on why, it's, icky or doesn't feel good, or like it's not needed. I just need to be a great clinician and it'll solve those issues. And so what happens is they don't feel comfortable with doing sales because it's an ego hit. And instead of, if they could identify what their actual feelings are and be like, actually, the reason I'm making up all these excuses not to learn sales or marketing or say it's beneath me is because my ego can't take the realization that I'm not good at something. And so instead of doing that, you label it as beneath you. So what that leads to is going back to just focusing on clinical skills, getting the next certification, because guess what? You're good at that. Now your ego doesn't have to look at itself harshly, and instead gravitate towards what is actually comfortable. So you do more of that, which feels good, but again, keeps you in the same cycle and same loop of not making progress. And so being able to identify what your emotions actually are is a sign of intelligence, and being able to act on it despite that is what it's all about. And so realize, hey, why do I keep gravitating towards being a great clinician and clinical skills? Because it's what you're good at. It's what you're good at. Your ego doesn't have to take a hit. Versus if you're not great at marketing sales, you have to look inward and be like, it's my ego talking. These are things I need to look in the mirror and overcome to be able to get to where I want to. So know and recognize why the feelings that you're having are happening.
That's why you have to have a very clear vision and purpose. Why we're doing that, because the entire game of entrepreneurship is incredibly uncomfortable. You are constantly battling imposter syndrome. And if you're not, then you're standing still and your business is dying. If you're focusing on growing, that means you're constantly in a position where you're at the edge of your ability and your skills, where you're trying to get to a different level that you don't possess the competence and skill level to actually be at. And so you are an imposter 24/7. As long as you're trying to grow, you're trying to achieve something that you are unworthy of yet, which means you live with it every single day, which means you have to look at yourself in the mirror. You have to look at where you're weak and be able to say, I'm bad at this. How are other people getting great at it? How can I be more like Ben? How can I be more like Jordan? Instead of dwelling in the idea of like, I suck, you need to be asking like, I'm not as good at this as I should be. How do I get better? And obsess over it. As long as you obsess over it, the more you do it, the more discomfort you overcome and the more skills you develop, you start to become addicted to that. And if you can't get addicted to that, you shouldn't start a business. It's going to be horrible and miserable for you. But if you love doing hard shit or want to be someone and become someone who enjoys solving complex problems, then entrepreneurship is for you. But the game is the hardest game in the world, the highest failure rate. And so you have to approach it like that, have a strong vision and purpose that's going to help you overcome your imposter syndrome and the shame of sucking at something, and get really comfortable at living there, because the longer you live in it, the more successful you're going to be.
Fun.
Cool. So hopefully, everyone, you have better expectations around what it takes to win in entrepreneurship. You have an idea of the skills that you have to learn, that are prerequisites, that are non-fucking negotiables for winning in this game. And if that excites you, and the vision of who you will become on the other side of developing those skill sets excites you, you're in the right place. You're listening to the right podcast. So if you want help with any of this, to work with Ben and myself to grow and scale your businesses, to teach you these skills in an environment where you learn quickly, we help you implement it every step of the way, and we can help you start making not just more revenue, but more profit that goes into your pocket, so you can start living comfortably and without the existential dread in your business. Go to clinicalmarketer.com and apply to work with us.
Yes.
Cool. Thanks for listening, everybody.